Welcome to Half the Battle. Today we're going back to the comic.
And we're taking a look at issue 53, Pitfall.
And that's a problem for me.
You see, this issue is good. Very good, in fact. And that leaves me with little to work with other than recapping the story.
Unfortunately, there is one baffling thing about this comic.
And that's the cover. Look, I've said many times how I dislike it when covers don't depict something that happens in the story, and Marvel's official response has been that a cover only needs to convey the general idea of that story.
And you know what? That's fine. I can live with it. Except that it doesn't apply in this case.
The cover has nothing to do with the issue. At all. Well, except that it has the word G.I.Joe on it. There is G.I.Joe in the issue.
But do you know who isn't in the issue?
Freaking Snake Eyes. And obviously none of the Marvel superheroes surrounding him appear either. By the way, in the trade version, those Marvel characters are strangely missing, making the cover look quite stupid. So, what gives with this?
Well, to answer that, we have to go back in time.
You see, this comic came out during Marvel's 25th anniversary, so all covers had Marvel characters as the frame, with an iconic character of the comic on the cover. And for G.I. Joe, they chose Snake Eyes. Yeah, Duke may have been Hasbro's poster boy, but for Marvel, or I should say Larry Hama specifically, it was Snake Eyes. That's why he's on the cover of an issue he doesn't even appear in. And since the trade paperback was published by IDW, not Marvel, they couldn't use the images of all those Marvel superheroes in the reprints.
Anyway, let's dig into the story itself.
First of all, there's the name, Pitfall. While it is very appropriate for the issue, the first thing that does come to mind to me when I see it is that computer game from the early 80s.
As a reminder, here's what happened before.
Last issue, the Joe team got suspended because of the Battle of Springfield and their distinct lack of results. At the same time, Cobra is planning an attack on their headquarters. This issue starts with two generals and an admiral making an inspection of the now closed-down headquarters, accompanied by Hawk. All the other Joes are above ground, temporarily housed with the chaplain assistants. The brass are General Ryan, who's a dick, General Hollingsworth, who's friendly to the Joe team, and Admiral Dyson, who's, brainy smurf?
No, really.
The Admiral speaks like 6 times, and 4 of those start with him saying, like I always say.
Like I always say, you've got to have a gimmick!
Ryan seems determined to not believe Cobra is a threat, despite video evidence of the Battle of Springfield.
Wanna bet he gets proven wrong?
Meanwhile, the Joes are upstairs, unarmed and without their vehicles, passing the time arm wrestling and axe throwing. Unarmed being a relative term here. Leatherneck is arm wrestling Beachhead, and I couldn't figure out who the bald guy cheering on Beachhead is. It's not Gung Ho since he's standing right next to him.
Then I realized!
That's supposed to be Roadblock. Now that's what I call an unfortunate coloring error, turning a black dude white. Anyway, a couple of trucks and what looks like a vamp jeep pull into the base, driven by Zartan and his siblings in disguise. These trucks contain Cobra's assault force, as well as practically their whole command.
Bold, I'll give him that.
At the same time, Flint is sexually harassing a co-worker, but thankfully gets interrupted by a platoon of eels making landfall. Other than Lady J and maybe Spirit, Hawk and the Brass seem to be the only ones paying attention, as they notice Cobra sending a bunch of battle android troopers down the elevator. Hawk stops the lift, but the robots just jump down and keep on going, despite being heavily damaged. The Brass arm themselves to defend the base, and holy crap, check out Hollingsworth here, handling that M60 gun like it's nothing. He doesn't even lose his pipe. They fight with everything they've got, but are forced to keep retreating, giving ground to the bats. Flint, meanwhile, attacks a dozen armed eels by himself to buy time for Lady J to warn everybody else.
Bold, I'll give him that.
Up top, they realize the androids aren't very good thinkers, so they should really send somebody down there to lead them. Sir Pentar wants to, but Cobra Commander, in a desperate attempt to prevail in their power struggle, insists he lead the charge instead. And for some reason, Destro wants to go with him.
Bold, you know what? I'm gonna stop saying that.
By the way, in one panel the Cobra troops have black masks, like the toys. All the other panels have them wearing the traditional comic red, though one still has a red edge to his. So I'm guessing they tried to make it look like they're in shadows, but considering the action figures, this just confuses things. A couple of the Joes have spotted the bad guys, and Lady J finds them to tell them about the eels and raise the alarm. Speaking of those eels, they have subdued Flint and have left one of them behind to finish him off.
Why would you do that?
I mean, if they're gonna kill him anyway, why leave it to just one guy? Once you have an enemy under control and decide to kill him, form a circle and stick the pointy end of your harpoon guns in him all at once. But no, one guy to do the job. So of course, a Flint just takes him out. Meanwhile, Cobra Commander has descended down the pit, and since subtlety is for losers, he just straps a bunch of explosives to a bat to send in.
Real tactical genius, isn't he?
Admiral Brainy Smurf tackles the android, giving the others time to get away. Once the blast doors close, he detonates the frickin' bomb! It's a grave moment of self-sacrifice.
Let's ruin that moment!
Boom! Anyway, Flint has reached the other Joes, and they raid the armory so they can finally fight back. The idiot quartermaster doesn't believe them, so Roadblock, who's still going through his white face, rips the door off. At the same time, the brass have gotten near the end of the line, but there is an escape tunnel. There's also a load-bearing pillar there, and if they destroy it, the whole pit will collapse. General Ryan asks if Hawk would sacrifice the pit to take out Cobra High Command. And since the Commander and Destro have just reached them, that seems a no-brainer, so they rig some explosives.
Meanwhile, upstairs,
Sir Pentor and his forces are in a bit of trouble themselves, as the Joes are raining down hellfire on the motor pool. Downstairs, General Ryan gets his legs crushed under some heavy rubble after an explosion. Unable to move, he orders the other two to use the escape tunnel and presses that detonator. There's a huge explosion, and sure enough, the pit collapses. Though Sir Pentor takes advantage of the distraction and gets away with his group. And so the comic ends, with Hawk and the General making it out, and Hollingsworth telling him the Joes are off suspension, and the team will be mobile from now on, always on the move, not having a home base that can be attacked. And that was Pitfall.
it was bold, I'll give him that.
It was also a great issue that really shook things up. The Joes lost their headquarters, but regained their active status. Roadblock had an identity crisis, and Cobra Commander and Destro were buried under tons of rubble.
Oh yeah, they're totally dead. I'm sure we'll never see those characters again. Ever!
General Ryan and the Admiral are definitely dead though. Strange, isn't it, how 2 out of the 3 non-toy characters introduced in this issue bite the dust.
That's the price of working on a toy license comic book, I suppose.
This issue marked a clear shake-up in the story of both the Joes and Cobra, and it was handled really well. When the only thing I can really complain about are some coloring mistakes and a confusing cover, you know this was a good comic. I suggest you check it out for yourself.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?